It's not a job most people dream of, I guess. I prepare the dead for their final goodbyes. It's quiet work mostly, precise. I've seen a lot in my time here, but nothing prepares you for some things, and nothing prepared me for him. This started about a month ago, maybe a little more. It's all a bit fuzzy now, for reasons that will become clear. I remember the day it shifted though. I'd just finished with a young woman, a girl really, late teens, maybe early 20s. The report said suicide, gunshot to the face, a messy, tragic end. Her body was odd. Not in a gruesome way, not more than usual for that kind of trauma. But her shoulders, they seemed to sag just a little too much, even in death, even with me working to make her presentable. As if she'd been carrying something immense for a very long time. Her parents, when they came to make arrangements, were devastated, of course. They kept saying she'd been struggling with anxiety, kept talking about a weight, said she always complained about a terrible weight on her shoulders, a physical burden nobody else could see or understand. They said she insisted it wasn't just a feeling, it was real. I nodded, listened. Grief does strange things to people, makes them fixate on details. I did my work, tried to offer what little comfort I could. She was buried a few days later. And then he started appearing. The old man, every morning without fail, when I arrived at the mortuary building, he'd be there, waiting, leaning against the cold brick wall by the entrance, or sometimes just standing, swaying slightly, like a dried-up reed in a non-existent wind. He was old, impossibly old it felt like, not just wrinkled and grey, but ancient. Skeletal is the only word that comes close. His skin was like old parchment, stretched so tight over his bones you could see their outline. His cheekbones, his jaw, the knobbly joints of his fingers. He was abnormally thin, as if he hadn't eaten a proper meal in a century. His clothes were rags, thin and dirty, offering no protection against the morning chill, and every single day, the same routine. I'd see him from down the block, a knot tightening in my stomach. I'd try to walk a little faster, maybe look at my phone, pretend I didn't see him. It never worked. As I'd approach the door, he'd shuffle forward, his movements slow, agonizing. One hand, gnarled and trembling, would extend towards me. His eyes, sunk deep in their sockets, were like old clouded marbles, but they'd fix on me with an unnerving intensity. "Spare change, son?" His voice was a dry rasp, like sandpaper on wood. Just a little something. For an old man. Always the same words, always that same pleading, yet somehow demanding tone. He never got aggressive, never raised his voice, just that persistent, quiet begging. The first few times I felt a pang of pity. He looked so wretched. I gave him $1, maybe $2. He'd snatch it with surprising speed, his thin lips pulling back in what might have been a smile, or maybe just a grimace. Then he'd shuffle away, disappearing around the corner. But he was back the next day, and the next, and the next. My pity started to wear thin. It became an annoyance, a daily irritation I had to navigate just to get to work. Why me? There were other people going into the building, other businesses on the same block, but he only ever approached me. He'd be there when I arrived and gone by the time anyone else showed up. It was like he knew my schedule. I started to ignore him. I'd walk past, eyes straight ahead, headphones in even if I wasn't listening to anything. He'd still try. That raspy voice would follow me. "Son? Just a little something." I'd feel his gaze on my back until I was through the door. It made my skin crawl. The building manager saw him a couple of times, shooed him away. He'd go docile as a lamb, but the next morning he'd be back, waiting for me. I began to dread going to work, not because of the deceased I had to care for, but because of the living ghost at the door. He never touched me, never got too close, but his presence was a constant gnawing pressure. It felt targeted. I wondered briefly if he was some distant, destitute relative of one of the families I'd served, but that didn't make sense. His appearance was too extreme, too unsettling. And this all started, I was sure of it, right after the young woman, the one with the weight, was laid to rest. The thought flickered, then I dismissed it. Coincidence. This city has plenty of desperate people, but the daily ritual continued. The skeletal figure, The outstretched hand, the raspy plea. Some days I'd give in, shove a bill into his hand just to make him go away, to stop that awful, expectant stare. He never said thank you, just took the money and vanished. Other days I'd steel myself and walk past, the guilt and annoyance warring within me. This went on for weeks. It felt like months. My sleep started to suffer. I'd see him in my dreams, that old man with his hollow eyes and outstretched hand, always asking, always waiting. I became jumpy, nervous even during the day. Every shadow looked like him. Every creak in the building made my heart skip a beat. My colleagues noticed. They asked if I was okay. I lied, said I was just tired, that the work was getting to me, but it wasn't the work. One morning, after a night filled with nightmares, I trudged toward the mortuary, hoping he wouldn't be there. But of course he was, waiting, like always. His thin frame leaning against the wall, fingers twitching, eyes fixed on me. "Son," he rasped, "just a little help." I froze. The fear that had been bubbling inside exploded. I clenched my fists. For the first time, I spoke harshly. "Leave me alone." He didn't move, didn't flinch, just stood there silently, watching. Days later, I tried to avoid him entirely. I arrived late, left early, but somehow he was always there, waiting. Then the nightmares turned worse. I saw his face, not just in dreams, but in reflections, in windows, in mirrors, even in my phone's black screen. He was everywhere, watching, waiting. One morning, I woke up with a strange heaviness on my shoulders. At first, I thought it was just tension from lack of sleep, but it wasn't. It felt like something was pressing down on me, something real. I looked in the mirror, and there he was, sitting on my shoulders, his skeletal fingers resting on my collarbones, his pale face inches from mine, grinning that terrible smile. I tried to shake him off, but he was weightless yet unbearably heavy, like a burden I couldn't explain. I screamed, but the sound caught in my throat. That day I realized the old man wasn't just a beggar or a ghost. He was a curse, a weight passed on from that young woman, the one who died with that unbearable burden on her shoulders. And now it was mine. I don't know how to get rid of it, or if I even can. Some jobs aren't just about the living. They deal with death, and sometimes the dead don't stay silent. What I'm about to tell you isn't just a story. It's something I lived through, something that changed me forever. There's a weight I carry now, one no one else can see, and it's only getting heavier. If you think you can handle the truth, stick around because this isn't over yet. If you like what you hear, please hit that like button, and I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think is really going on here. Don't forget to subscribe, because the next chapter might just break everything you thought you knew.